me start with an operational update from Gaza. In a video message last night, the Prime Minister confirmed that Israel's defense forces have intensified operations against Hamas and other terrorist groups across the Gaza Strip. The IDF is striking terrorists and their infrastructure, securing key positions, and systematically dividing Gaza step by step, tightening the pressure until Hamas has no choice but to release our hostages. Israel's message could not be clearer. The pressure will continue to mount until they are freed. We have returned to fighting with a clear and unwavering mission to bring home all of our hostages, both the living and the deceased, to dismantle Hamas's military and governing capabilities and to eliminate the terror threat from Gaza once and for all. Hamas continues to violate international law, embedding itself in civilian sites, hospitals, schools and mosques, while using the people of Gaza as human shields. Right now, 59 hostages remain in captivity. Their return is a national and it is a moral imperative. We will not stop until every last one of them is home. Indeed, as the IDF's Chief of Staff, Eyal Zamir, has said just last night, the only thing that can halt our further advance is the release of our hostages. And the Prime Minister said pretty much the same thing. He said that with God's help and with the bravery of our soldiers, we will achieve this mission. Next, the Prime Minister Netanyahu arrived in Budapest last night, where he was welcomed by an honour guard and Hungary's defence minister. This morning he met with Prime Minister Viktor Orban and Hungary's president at the presidential palace in an official ceremony, a very impressive ceremony, once again accompanied by an honour guard. Israel has commended Hungary's important decision to withdraw from the International Criminal Court. As our Prime Minister has stated, the ICC has lost its moral authority after trampling the fundamental principles of international law in its pursuit not to maintain international law, but simply to harm Israel's right to self-defense. So just recently, in the last hour or so, the two Prime Ministers, Prime Minister Netanyahu and Prime Minister Viktor Orban, expressed gratitude, Israel to Hungary, to Prime Minister Orban and Hungary for their clear and strong moral stance alongside Israel on the principles of justice and sovereignty. And lastly, to Syria, Israel has been clear: we will not tolerate offensive weapons in Syria, especially in the south, nor any threat to our citizens or our defense forces. There'll be no jihadis massing on our borders, no Iranian forward operating bases on our doorstep. To the Syrian regime, we say very clearly, any attempt by your forces or terrorist groups to entrench themselves will not be allowed. Israel will act decisively, and we mean it. Just yesterday, the IDF struck military targets at the Hama and T4 bases, as well as key infrastructure in the Damascus region. Last night, IDF forces operated in southern Syria to dismantle terrorist infrastructure and seize weapons. When terrorists opened fire on our troops, they were swiftly eliminated. Israel will not allow threats to build up on our borders. We will act whenever and wherever necessary to ensure our security. Okay, that's the end of our briefing here today. I will now take your questions. Please give your name and your news outlet, and we will take a few questions. First question I can see here is from Joel Pollack at Breitbart News. How important is Orban's commitment to withdraw from the ICC? Thank you for that question, Joel. Look, I think that the Prime Minister's just said this, that Hungary has shown unwavering support for Israel at a time when others have cowered. Hungary has stood firm with Israel. Prime Minister Orban has shown moral clarity in defending Israel's right to self-defense and rejecting the ICC's politically motivated attacks. That means that the Israel-Hungary partnership has never been stronger, and that Hungary stands with Israel, not only the two of them, but also in the EU, in Brussels, and also in the United Nations, as the Prime Minister has just said. True friendship in action. While others have tried to isolate Israel, Hungary has extended a hand of solidarity, and this partnership between Israel and Hungary, together with President Trump, has demonstrated what true leadership looks like, standing for truth, standing for strength, and also standing for peace in the face of the growing global threats. Prime Minister Orban said today that and it is clear that he understands what many refuse to see. Israel is not just defending itself, it is defending the West, it is defending Judeo-Christian values. Both Israel and Hungary are pushing back against the rising tide of anti-Semitism and those who seek to erase Jewish sovereignty. Strength, through strength and not appeasement, is what will defeat extremism. Both of our countries share this fundamental belief that appeasement has never defeated radicalism. Only strength and determination will. And if Europe wants to defend itself against extremism, it would do well to stand alongside Israel. Okay, thanks for that question. There's another question here from Joel Pollack at Breitbart News. Could you please contrast this with South Africa's attempt to withdraw from the ICC after it refused to arrest Sudan's President Omar al-Bashir, and also comment on the hypocrisy of South Africa now backing the ICC and the warrant against Mr. Netanyahu. Thank you for that question, Joel. You're talking about Sudan and their role in what is the real genocide which took place in Darfur. I believe that's what you are referring to. Let me put it this way. When it comes to South Africa, Israel has condemned South Africa's support for Hamas and their politically motivated actions at the ICC, which have ignored Israel's right to self-defense against a terrorist organization that targets civilians. Additionally, we believe here in Israel that South Africa's growing ties with Iran and others negative forces in the world are part of a broader alignment with regimes that destabilize the region and undermine global security. You're right to point out that the contrast couldn't be clearer. Okay, next question here is from Thomas from the national newspaper in the UAE. In the light of the news about the Morag corridor, are there plans to occupy more of Gaza if Hamas does not comply with Israel's demands and or adopt the Witkoff proposal? And if so, could this occupation be total occupation of Gaza? Thank you very much for that question, Thomas. In the first part of this briefing, I made very clear what the Prime Minister's views were together with the government. Our work is specifically in Gaza designed to get our hostages home. I would remind you, and to all of those pseudo-terrorism experts in the world criticizing Israel's actions on putting pressure on Hamas, that the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, is a world leader in counterterrorism. He literally wrote the book on counterterrorism. He literally stormed aeroplanes hijacked by terrorists, shot the terrorists and freed the hostages, lost his own brother who was engaged in freeing hostages from terrorists. So our Prime Minister knows a thing or two about terrorism, and he has made clear last night, and I would point you again to the video message he received last night, that there will be increasing pressure. Step by step, the pressure will increase until all of our hostages are back. 59 of them remain in captivity. The dead need to be reunited with their families for a decent burial. It is an outrage, it's a human rights outrage that dead bodies are held as hostage, together with the live hostages, to begin the rehabilitation process, to be freed from torture and to be allowed to return home. Okay, next question, please. I think we've got one last question here from Maria Finashina from RT International. The US has just slapped a 17% tariff on Israeli imports days after Israel stopped all tariffs on American goods. How does your government interpret this move? Do you see it as a policy shift in US-Israel economic relations, and is a reciprocal response being considered? Thank you. Thank you for that question, Maria Finashina from RT. Let me tell you that the relationship between Israel and the United States has never been closer. Our Prime Minister has made clear that President Trump is the president with the best understanding of Israel's unique and precarious position in the Middle East. And that has been shown practically, not just with words. President Trump led the administration that moved the US embassy to its rightful place in Jerusalem, our eternal capital. President Trump's administration was the administration that recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights, absolutely key to maintaining security in our north. President Trump was behind the Abraham Accords and wishes to spread those accords further to other countries, which we very much look forward to doing. So our partnership with the US has never been closer. We are side by side, shoulder to shoulder. And of course, it's not just in words, as I've mentioned, it is in deeds. They have given us the tools to fight this scourge of Islamic terrorism. We are standing up to Islamic terrorism, and we have no better partner in the world than the United States of America, whose friendship and partnership with this country between Jerusalem and Washington, D.C. has been absolutely key, not least since President Trump took over. We, of course, recognize the work of President Biden, but let's make no mistake, the hostages started coming out when President Trump said the things that he said. And we very much welcome that, the growing relationship. Okay, Thomas, I've taken your question. And there's a final question here from Maria Finashina from RT International. We're giving you a second question. And you're quoting a Daily Mail report regarding Iran and its role in this region and the efforts which Iran have made. Maria, I would just simply point you to the comments made by our Prime Minister in the last hour or so in Budapest, where he talked specifically about Iran. I would point you to those comments because our Prime Minister said that Iran is a state sponsor of terror, the leading state sponsor of terror, behind the three H's, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. And when it comes to Iran, our Prime Minister has made crystal clear over the years that Iran cannot be allowed to achieve a nuclear weapon. When Iran says they wish to wipe this country off the face of the earth, we believe them. We believe they do wish to do it. Now, we know that President Trump agrees with this, and Israel has supported President Trump's maximum pressure campaign. It was working before it was interrupted. That is crippling sanctions and a credible military threat to counter Iran's nuclear ambitions. Now, this strategy has deterred Iran until the pressure was removed. So Israel very much welcomes the restoration of the maximum pressure campaign. President Trump and the Prime Minister very much see eye to eye on this issue, on the Iranian nuclear threat, and these maximum pressure policies should be and are being restored. So it's Israel's long-standing position, Marina, that Iran must never be allowed to develop nuclear weapons, and Israel will do whatever it can, whatever it has to do to prevent that from happening. Okay, that was the last question here today. Thank you for joining us. We'll have another briefing, no doubt, next week. In the meantime, you can contact us with questions or with any other requests, media requests, interviews, and we'll be happy to help if we can. Please do stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching. Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and hit subscribe to stay updated with our latest content. Until next time, stay informed and inspired. This is Dejobnik signing off.